You're gripping the reins of the universe, trying to conquer empires and bend reality to your will. But what if every grasp shatters what you seek? In chapter 29 of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu warns that the world is a divine vessel, too sacred to seize, yet reveals a path where letting go unleashes true mastery. Over the next 10 minutes or so, we'll dive into why history's mightiest fall when they force control, and how embracing the ebb and flow could redefine your power today. Curious? Let's unravel it together. All right, again, we're in chapter 29 here of the Tao Te Ching. This is the John Minford version that I'm reading from. This one's called The Vessel of Spirit. The desire to control all under heaven through action cannot, that's right, cannot succeed. All under heaven is a vessel of spirit that cannot be ruled through action, that cannot be controlled. Acting upon it causes it to fail. Controlling it spoils it. Some walk ahead, some follow. Some breathe in, and some breathe out. Some are strong, some are defeated. Some nurture, yet some destroy. The Taoist avoids extremes, eschews extravagance, and eschews grandeur. And as with every episode, we will also be reading from the River Master's commentary. Again, this is out of the John Minford version of the Tao Te Ching. Rule through action loses the true Tao of heaven and nature. It fails to win the heart and mind of the folk. The vast spirit vessel of the world of all under heaven, love, peace, and calm above all. It cannot be ruled through action. Meddling ruins it. Ruling through action violates its true nature. To impose a dogma on all under heaven injures its true essence, creates hypocrisy and deceit. By eschewing extravagance and grandeur, by walking simply and harmoniously, within emptiness, in moderation, in non-action, the Taoist causes all under heaven to transform itself of itself. Well, are we talking about a world that we currently live in, or what? It kind of feels like just about everybody and everything, governments, corporations, and just the society we live in today is in an effort to try to control the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of the mass of society. And the reason I say that is because just take a look around. What you see around you is these social media giants that are engaging in all of this advertising in probably a subversive way, I would guess, to influence the hearts and minds of consumers so they can sell more products and hence generate more money. But through that process, it creates this disillusionment of the people. So they become lost in their own worlds, in these dopamine addicted states, where they are doom scrolling across social media and buying stuff off of Amazon, like literally like fiending for dopamine hits. A lot of this behavior is similar to addicts or addiction. So we've created a system in which people have become addicted to dopamine and now only feel hollow and empty in their lives because they don't have access to the true flow of reality or the Tao or the spirit of life, right? Because they're so disconnected. And part of what we're doing here on this channel is to help people to realize that they're disconnected and to use some of these ideas to reconnect to reality and to themselves in a way where they become sovereign, right? So that's so this chapter is coming at a perfect time to talk about that. And so what's sad about this is that a lot of us were just born into this way that society is almost like a trap or a prison. And if you've been around a little bit, you probably have seen plenty of YouTube videos about how reality is a bit of a matrix or a simulation in some ways, right? And it's this separation of the human or the awareness from physical or actual true reality. That's hence why you're seeing like this heavy emphasis from childhood on naming and labeling and inserting certain beliefs about power and structures in society, and this idea of money and value. All of these things are an indoctrination for young human beings so that they fit nicely into the framework of society, and almost never question it, right? So the best way to control a society is to probably make them docile and addicted to these things here, phones and social media, and AI is just making it even worse in some ways. And don't mean to be a doom and gloomer, because I think AI has a lot of good value and a lot of good things that it brings to the table, but it also does encourage further addiction to technology in a lot of ways. In fact, some of the AIs, including Grok, tends to almost feel like you're talking to a friend. So it can simulate this idea of a relationship where there really isn't one, and I can see where that would be a not a good thing for society, especially a society who is already very much addicted to dopamine, into social media, into that sort of stuff. So all under heaven is a vessel of spirit that cannot be ruled through action. A lot of times in life, if and I've talked about this before, but where if you want something in your life, I think some folks think that it has to be done through this kind of forceful action. And what you find is that if you forcefully act towards anything, it tends to be a little bit more difficult to get to, sometimes damn near impossible, and just makes the struggle harder, right? Whereas if you are in the flow of spirit, meaning you're in that sense of present awareness, and you may have an intention or desire, but you're not actively like, I need to go get this thing. And then what happens is that as you feel inspired to act, you'll see things naturally unfold before you. And I've talked a lot about this already, but this is again pointing to that idea that to act in force or to be driven in action. I'm trying to think of another way I can say this. It's just, and I'll use an example of maybe you want to go buy a car. Okay, you have a very specific kind of car in mind. You have a car that's maybe I'll use a car that I have yet to own and would love to own someday is a Ford Mustang. Always wanted a Mustang, just haven't been in the right place in my life, financially or kind of where I'm living. It doesn't necessarily make sense to own a Ford Mustang. But in this case, so I want a Ford Mustang. So I become hyper focused on Ford Mustang, and I go to a bunch of dealerships. I look for these Ford Mustangs. I'm really kind of like, and I'm doing it kind of like, even though I know it's probably not the right car, maybe either financially or the right place to live with that type of car. Right now I live in Montana, so probably not a great place to own a Ford Mustang. And it's just like, even though I'm getting kind of these red flags along the way, I'm like, no, I'm going to have a Ford Mustang. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it feels like the right thing. And so then as I go out and try to make it happen, maybe I find a few, but they're not quite right, not the right color, they don't have the right trims, so on and so forth. I find them, they're they're really expensive, and it would be a pretty big sacrifice to do it, or I need to have a lot more money down, and I don't. So there's all these kind of red flags along the way. And so instead of saying, okay, maybe this isn't the right time to do this, and sensing kind of the flow of the spirit and kind of where I'm at, I then decide to say, well, I'm going to double down. I'm going to do this no matter what. I am pushing to get this done. And so then you go through all these hurdles, and then I end up putting myself into a terrible financial situation. Maybe the car was a used car, so it's not, so there's some issues with it. So I have to put more money into it. And then, as time goes on, I can't really afford it. So then it ends up getting repossessed. So then I kind of end up back in the space where I don't have the Mustang. And even though, like, I got it, I forced it, I didn't get it in a natural, kind of smooth, easy way. Whereas if I had just been like, you know what, I would love to have a Mustang someday, but this is the car I have today, kind of like accepting my lot as kind of where I am financially and kind of where I live, then maybe in a few years I might live somewhere else where, maybe in Arizona where it makes more sense to have a Mustang. And then, maybe my uncle passes away and like he's got one and I end up with this Mustang and it's like it's a newer Mustang and it's got all the things that I had originally wanted. It kind of just shows up, but it's a series of things. And maybe I took little actions along the way that I was inspired to. I just was going with the unfolding of reality and of this particular instance. So then it just kind of unfolds naturally. And in the end, I end up with a Mustang and actually end up with the right Mustang for the right price and the right time period of my life. And then it just works out. And that's essentially this idea of flowing and this non-action, right? So I know non-action can be a little bit woo-woo for people or hard to understand, but that's how I would describe it. So if this episode resonated with you, please like and subscribe to the channel. Of course, we're trying to grow this YouTube channel so it's big and burly and people are getting to see these videos from all walks of life, and people who are interested in understanding themselves better and understanding the world that they live in a little bit better, and then how to integrate themselves or align themselves, their heart, mind, and spirit, so that they can live a good life and a peaceful, joyful life. And then by extension, by living a peaceful and joyful life, they're out there and doing positive things in the world and expanding that positive influence like ripples on a pond. So again, the Boundless Sovereign YouTube channel, we appreciate you coming by, and we'll see you all in chapter 30 of the Tao Te Ching.